Hello everyone, welcome back to Stoic Wisdom today. Let me ask you three simple questions. What tried to break you but didn't? What overwhelmed you but passed? What left scars but also made you stronger? If you paused for even a second, you're already walking proof of resilience. You've already survived days that felt impossible, moments when the weight was unbearable, and still you're here. Maybe you didn't rise with grace, maybe you crawled, maybe you screamed, but you didn't stop. This episode isn't about reliving pain, it's about honoring the strength that pain revealed. It's about looking back, not to dwell, not to spiral, but to gather fuel. Because the Stoics didn't ignore the past. They used it as a source of clarity, of courage. They believed memory wasn't a trap, it was a tool. One that, when used wisely, could strengthen the soul. So today we're exploring what I call resilient memory, the ability to recall your own endurance, reconnect with your past strength, and rise again with deeper roots. No motivation gimmicks, no empty affirmations, just real reflection, real strength, the kind that's already within you. Let's begin. Part 1. Why we forget our own strength. Pain has a strange way of fading in memory, but doubt always comes back loud. We forget how far we've come because we get caught in how far we still have to go. We remember the fear, but not the courage. We replay the struggle, but not the strength it revealed. And that's where suffering grows, in forgetfulness. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, look back over the past with its changing empires that rose and fell, and you can foresee the future too. In other words, if you've endured before, you can endure again. The Stoics didn't deny hardship, but they refused to let it erase their identity. Remember this, you're not weak for hurting, you're strong for having healed. You're not starting from zero, you're starting from experience. When you feel lost, don't reach outside. Reach back into your own story. And remember, many of the greatest transformations are not loud or dramatic. They are slow, invisible, and internal. The act of healing is a quiet triumph. Your ability to get back up over and over again is not a sign of fragility. It is the most solid proof of resilience. Our culture may glorify perfection and celebrate only the obvious wins, but the Stoic knows strength lies in persistence, and persistence lives in memory. Part 2. The Stoic use of memory. To the Stoic, memory isn't a chain, it's a compass. It doesn't bind you to the past, it orients you in the present. Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. In other words, memory is a mirror, not a prison. Use it to recall your strength, not your scars. Reconnect with moments where courage outweighed fear. Reflect on how pain passes, but what it leaves behind can shape you. Modern life moves fast. Social media rewards forgetting and pretending. But the Stoic presses pause. They revisit, not to dwell, but to deepen. Think about it. That heartbreak, it taught you boundaries. That failure, it taught you humility. That illness, it taught you gratitude. Memory becomes a spiritual weight training. You revisit old struggles, not to be crushed again, but to lift with better form. The Stoic remembers selectively, not the drama, but the development. Sometimes, the best mirror is a memory. The Stoic looks back not to be sentimental, but to gain clarity. To remember that every painful chapter in your life was also a lesson, a turning point, a quiet victory that built your foundation. Don't let the world rush you forward so fast that you forget what got you here. Pause, remember, recenter. Part 3. Practices to use memory as strength. 1. Write a resilience journal. List the storms you've weathered. Write the details. Then write what got you through. When new storms come, open the pages. Make this a habit, weekly, monthly. Build a record of strength. Over time, it becomes a self-made manual of perseverance. It's proof that you've endured and grown. 2. Meditate on past trials from a calm place, not to relive the pain, but to re-extract the power. Set aside 10 minutes to sit with an old memory. Ask, what strength did this awaken in me? Visualize yourself in that moment. Then visualize who you are now. Find the thread of growth. Let your past resilience become today's calm. 3. Create a personal mantra from truth. Example, I've faced worse. I've risen before. I'll rise again. Let it be simple. Let it be yours. Say it often. Write it somewhere visible. Speak it in the mirror. Carry it when you walk into challenges. This mantra is your inner shield. Let it be the voice that steadies you when others can't. 4. Stop minimizing what you've survived. We downplay past pain to seem strong, but true strength is saying that was hard and I handled it. You don't have to dramatize it, but don't dismiss it either. What you endured matters. Respecting your survival is part of respecting yourself. 5. Honor the scars, not for pity, for power. Your scars aren't signs of weakness. They're proof of transformation. Physical or emotional, they say, I endured. These practices aren't nostalgic, they're grounding. They don't pull you back, they center you now. Each scar holds a lesson, each lesson holds strength. Make these practices rituals. Turn your story into a source of fuel. Not fiction, not fantasy, but fact. Part 4. Stoic energy of resilient memory. The Stoic doesn't dwell in the past, they draw energy from it. When you meet someone who's weathered storms and come out the other side, not bitter, not broken, but clear and calm, you can feel it. There's a quiet power in them. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands respect. That's Stoic energy. It doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from absorbing it, learning from it, and letting it shape you. It's the energy of someone who knows. They've walked through darkness before. They've stood in silence when there was no applause. They've chosen discipline over drama. And that leaves a mark, not on their reputation, but on their soul. This kind of energy doesn't flare up. It burns slow. It's built over time, through small daily choices, through restraint, through consistency, through reflection. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." In modern life, we often run from adversity. We avoid discomfort. But the Stoic knows discomfort is where clarity is born. So when you feel pain, remember, it's not just something to get through. It's something that builds you, if you let it. The energy of resilient memory is grounded, not reactive. It allows you to pause when others panic, to breathe when others break. You don't have to explain it, just embody it. That's what people feel. That's what leaves impact. Part 5. Stoic phrases to activate inner history. Words can be anchors, tools you return to in the storm. The Stoics repeated short phrases to themselves, reminders of what mattered most. Here are 6 modern affirmations inspired by Stoic thought. 1. This isn't my first storm. A reminder that you've been here before. Maybe not in the same way, but in the same weight, and you endured. 2. I remember who I've been. You're not just the current version of yourself. You're the sum of every trial you've faced and grown from. 3. Pain passed, I stayed. Pain isn't permanent. It visits, it challenges, but it doesn't get the final say. You do. 4. I'm not starting over, I'm continuing. Even when life resets, you're not back at zero. You carry experience, wisdom, and strength forward. 5. My past proves my power. Your own history is proof of your capacity. Read your own story and you'll see a pattern of resilience. 6. I've already done hard things. When fear rises, say it. Let your memory speak louder than your doubt. These phrases aren't empty mantras. They're rooted in truth, in your truth. Use them, speak them, write them. Let them become part of your inner vocabulary, because sometimes the difference between giving up and going on is one remembered phrase spoken at the right time. Conclusion. Let the past fortify you. Memory is a powerful thing. It can imprison or it can empower. The Stoic doesn't look back to dwell in pain. They look back to recognize strength, to see the ground they've already covered, the fires they've walked through, the cliffs they've climbed. Your past is not a weight to carry. It's a foundation to stand on. Every scar is a sign. You've survived something. Every lesson is a light. You've grown from something. Every setback is a stepping stone. You've moved beyond something. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by how you continued. So don't look back with regret. Look back with reverence. Look back not to reopen wounds, but to remember you healed. Marcus Aurelius said, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. That source is you. It's been there all along. It may have been buried under fear, under doubt, under years of noise, but it's there. And when life shakes you again, as it will, you don't have to panic. You just have to pause. Remember, and take the next step. Because your story isn't starting over, it's continuing, with wisdom, with strength, with grounded resilience." Thank you for watching Stoic Wisdom today. If this message speaks to something you've carried or are still carrying, leave a comment below. My past proves my power. Let's remind each other, we are not weak for hurting, we are strong for continuing. Subscribe for more Stoic reflections. Share this with someone who needs to remember how far they've come. And as always, stay grounded, stay wise, and stay stoic.